Alright, this is why I don't like when people line perfectly good tanks. Didn't appear that it was leaking at all. It looks like they were just trying to seal over rust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that big piece out, and hopefully I can get some other little pieces with it. Let it sit in evaporust for a few days. Come back, see if I can't get any more chunks out, see if the evaporust broke some stuff loose. Alright, pull the tank off. Need to take off that bolt there. This is part of the muffler bracket, so you have to take that nut off, that nut off. You'll have to take these two that are, I don't know if you can see them or not, that are for the exhaust pipe. You have to take all those off to get the muffler off. And then there's two on the other side as well. Those two right there. Once you take those two off, the two on the other side off, and the exhaust, the tank should come off fairly easy. You will have to cut not cut. If you have good fuel lines, you can disconnect them. Mine are rotted, so I had to cut them off. So, because I'm gonna replace them anyways. That's it. Put ends on this when you put the fluid in, that way it don't leak out. If you have something you can put, you got little plastic caps you can put on there, but I just use the old fuel line since it's still pliable, just not gonna use it. So and the more you put in, the more you're gonna pick up if you spill everything or if it leaks everywhere. So the gas cap actually isn't that bad. I'm gonna try to fill it to the top. So if you have a gas cap that's bad, or not bad, but rusted out like the tank is, once you put that cap on there, it's gonna close in, and that top of that fluid's gonna start eating away at the rust on the bottom of the gas cap. So, like I said, this one isn't bad. So, actually, before I do any of that, this stuff, it shouldn't hurt your tank. I've never had an issue, but also tank is bad off as this one. And I don't know, that just might, looks discolored, but I think it's just been sitting a while. I mean, since 03, so now I just let this sit. I've let them sit, depends how bad they are. The ones that are really bad, I'll let them sit for a couple days, and I'll come back and recheck it, make sure that it's not leaking. try to keep it as level as possible. There we go. Let's see here. Yeah, see it's got to the bottom of the cap there, so when it cleans the bottom of the cap and it cleans the tank at the same time. Like I said, I'm not expecting a lot of results out of this since it has a liner in it, but I'm hoping maybe that like the Vapor Rust will actually start to dissolve the liner. I haven't been told that it does, but I'm just kind of gambling here and seeing if it works or not. Okay, this is the tank after sitting in a Vapor Rust for 2 days. Once I drain the Vapor Rust back into the containers, I'll rinse the tank out with water a few times. Then I'll blow it out with air to get the majority of the water out. And then I'll take it, set it on its side, and get a heat gun, set it to low, and I'll face it in the gas fill. I'll have the drains open. That way the water will evaporate quicker and there won't be any rust. But if you're worried about rust, what you can do is take a little 2-cycle gas and coat the tank with it. And then once the gas evaporates, the oil will leave a film on there and it shouldn't rust. Got the Vapor Rust out, had no leaks. I was able to get the majority of the bottom of the liner out. The rest wouldn't come out. In the future, I may clean it out thoroughly and get all that liner out. The rest of it's stuck in there pretty good, so I'm not going to touch it, but the bottom is good. That's what I was worried about, make sure that they weren't trying to seal up any leaks in the bottom, because that's where all the gas pulls up. But I was able to get this stuff out, and this stuff just turns to paper after a while, or just dry leaves. It's just nasty. So, and what I do, like I said, I cleaned it out, and before I put it on the bike, when you run your lines, I always mark the reserve. You can do the on or the main position, but I always do reserve that way. When I'm running my lines, I don't get my lines crossed, and I'll show y'all when I do. I'll put either a little bitty zip tie on here or a piece of electrical tape on my reserve. That way I know which one's reserve when I hook it up to the carburetor. And you can see the gas cap, it came out really nice. All right, got my lines on. Found out the easiest way to do is they actually go through these 2 holes here, and you have to access it through battery cover. So what you want to do is you have to pull the battery off. Sometimes you get lucky and run it through without all this, and sometimes you can run a little chaser through, but I found it's just easier to do it this way. All right, reserve. Get a little bit of out. I leave this a little loose. Just anywhere where it's going to be seen when it's through the body. Eggplants, I'm gonna try something different. a squirrel moment. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run it back through the opposite way and try that. I haven't tried this before, so let's see what happens. In theory, it should work a lot easier. Look at that. This works. I've been doing it wrong the entire time, which is possible. This. Come on now. Come on. Alright, before you put this seat on, once you got the gas tank on, make sure you put the gas cap on or something to cover it. Because you don't, where that seat go? There it is. You don't want to drop anything in there. Ask me how I know. Usually it ain't too bad. You use a magnet or pull the tank back off, but it just saves you an extra step. So. Same with the gas tank bolt. You just, if you're using this, you just want a few little ugga-duggas. That's it. Nothing. You don't want to torque it down because you're going to pull those studs back through the seat pan. And then, all right, I forgot to mention, when I take that old fuel line off, I'll try to save it if possible so I can measure it for the new fuel line. So what I do is I'll go end to end and I'll roughly guess how much I cut off the end of those attached to the carburetor, and I'll add that to it, maybe just a little bit more, because if I need to trim just a little bit, it's fine. But you don't want to cut so much off that you're wasting so much fuel line. I'll try to make a filter from this material. I've had good success in the past. There you go. Obviously OEM is the way to go, but this is what I had laying around. Oh yeah, I had to trim off a little bit for it to fit. Inside there is pretty dirty, so I'm gonna clean it before I stick it back on the bike, but I just want to test fit it. It's a little snug, but it fits great. And this is the spring that goes over the original sock. but this is a little bit too big where it won't fit over. I don't want a chance of damaging this, so it seems like it has a tight seal. So I'm just gonna run it like this after I clean everything up. I'm gonna try to glue this little tab. It's broken about half or about a quarter or something, but I'm gonna glue it back just to see if I can get it to stick. If it falls off, then it falls off. All right, tank's on, muffler's on. Was able to clean the rest of that gunk out of the air box, and that tab actually held, like the super glue actually held. So I'm gonna run it till it breaks off, or hope for the best. Still running the little backup carburetor I had. I'm having trouble with that thing. That varnish got into everything, so I'm gonna continue to go through it before I put everything back together. I just want to mock up everything, make sure everything's functioning right and fitting right. So, all right, take 27. Original carburetor's on. I put the old plunger on. Got where had a helical. I put the bolt through, nut in there. Had the original air box on, just to see how it flows. All right, let's see if I fixed it. Guess not. All right, everybody. I'm gonna run the spare carburetor I had. I really want to run the original, but it's just fighting me left and right. It's in that carburetor, it's in the body of the carburetor. All that varnish over the years, there's some passages that are clogged up. So I'm gonna run this spare one I have for now. I'm still planning on fixing the original one and putting it back on the bike, but for now, for my sanity and the sake of this video, I'm going to just run the spare one I had. And while I'm waiting on parts, I'm going to hook the fuel lines up, and I'm just gonna send it, ride it down the road, make sure everything works like it should. And when parts come in, the parts I have are tubes, tires, wheel bearings, the wheel seals, the fork seals, chain, all that stuff. And I even got a new little plastic little insulator here. So all that stuff will be replaced, and I'll show you all that in the next video. Thanks for watching.